Welcome to the Financial Armor Show. My name is Brad Cooper, president of Cooper Financial Investments, and I'm really excited today to introduce a new host, which you may have not seen with us today. Jaclyn, I'm so thankful that you have stepped in to replace Tony for a while and help out with this recording, which I am so excited today with the topic and the person we're going to be visiting with. I can promise you, you definitely want to take notes on this call and plan for this upcoming event that we're having, which I'm going to be very blessed to have the two of you fly down from freezing cold, snowy Minnesota to hot, sunny Arizona. But welcome. How are you doing, Jaclyn?
I am fantastic. Typically, I do this show with Jose. It's
Yes.
usually you and Tony and Jose and I, but we decided to mix it up a little bit today, didn't we?
We
And yeah, it's super fun to have Caitlyn here, and we are so excited to come down for the Women in Wealth event. So I'll let kind of Caitlyn share about how she's doing, and then we'll share a little bit about the event.
Yeah, that sounds great. Well, before I give Caitlyn a formal introduction, which she definitely deserves, I've known Caitlyn for many years, and I'm just so thankful, so excited that she has agreed to take time out of her busy schedule, which I do know how big of a commitment this is going to be. But, we'll bring this up at the end of the show. But I know I have a flyer here. If you're listening and not watching us, on YouTube, we are having a very special event. So mark your calendar. Thursday, April 9th, from 8:30 in the morning to 11:30 in the morning, we're having a special event called Empowering Women, Wealth and Wellness. And Caitlyn is going to be one of our special speakers, one of three that we're going to be having. And if you want more information on how to register, this is a free event for the public, for our clients, for friends of our clients. You can go to cooperevent.com, cooperevent.com, COOPEREVENT.com for more information and to sign up. Again, it's free to the public, first come, first served. And but welcome, Caitlyn. I want to introduce a good friend of mine, Vice President of Nextek. She is, in my opinion, an expert when it comes to technology, to communication, to training over the last several years. Kaitlyn Wyngaard, thank you for taking the time to be on this podcast recording with Jaclyn and I. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
I'm excited to be here, Brad. We've worked a long time together, and I'm excited to be on the podcast.
Yes. The only thing that would be better than this recording of the podcast if you were live here in Arizona, because you just shared with me, which I don't keep track of the weather too much, because in Arizona, it's always sunny. It's always beautiful. But you just shared with me, what, a foot and a half of snow?
Yeah, 1.5 feet of snow this weekend.
Wow. Well, you enjoy shoveling the snow, and I'll enjoy shoveling the sunshine here in
Just
Arizona.
don't get burnt or get burnt for us.
Yes.
Yes. Well, it's going to be great. But, well, like I said, Caitlyn's going to be one of our special speakers, and Jaclyn's going to be coming down with Caitlyn, which I'm so excited to have the two come in. In addition to that, there's another very sharp lady coming in from Minnesota as well, Lisa Schreiber. She is a portfolio money manager that's going to be speaking as well. But with that said, what Caitlyn's going to be talking about, I want to discuss with you a little bit more in detail. And I wish we had several hours for this call. I know we don't. We're not going to get through all the information, but really the purpose of this event and, doing this event and having these wonderful experts come in and speak. And even though it's named Empowering Women, Wealth and Wellness, if you're married, we encourage your husbands, your significant others to please come. It's going to be valuable, very valuable information, not only for women, but also for their spouses if you're married. But it's not going to be talking about the fears in the market, but more of just preparation, confidence, and peace of mind. So, Caitlyn, I know you've spoken all over the country, and this topic is dear to me because unfortunately, in our practice, in the last few years, we have lost to death over 27 clients. Of those 27 clients, the majority have been husbands that passed away first. And statistics say that us husbands will die first. And I've seen and read many, reports and studies that wives can live anywhere from 8 to 10 years longer minimum. Another study I read, I think Fidelity put this out a few years ago, and there's been other studies that throughout the nation that they are predicting over 75% of widows could end up in poverty without the right training. And what I've seen in my 33 years of experience in this industry is, just to be quite honest, it's more male-driven industry. And our industry has done a very, very, very poor job as far as empowering women with the wisdom, the knowledge, and the tools they need, which I believe are all common sense principles. And that's kind of the purpose of this recording, the purpose of the event. So, Caitlyn, what have you seen, and maybe Jaclyn as well, in the last several years leading up to now, and maybe some of the studies that you've seen as far as what's going to happen in the years to come as husbands pass away and women now are put in control of finances in retirement?
Yeah, I saw a startling statistic. It was 80% of men will die married, but 80% of women will die single. And I think that is a
Wow.
huge statistic and testimony for how important it is for women to feel confident in finances, because 80% of them, unfortunately, will die single.
Wow, that's crazy. Like I shared, I've been in this industry many decades, and I have a wonderful wife, Shelly, which I talk a lot about, and she knows a lot. She's much smarter than me, but I keep track of the money and finances and changing the usernames and passwords on the site, which it's hard to keep up with, much less keeping your spouse up to date like we should. But one of the things you're going to be talking about, Caitlyn, which I'm so excited about, being, with your background in the last several years, technology, you're going to be talking about generational vault and how technology can really play a very important role, especially with the new platform we have coming out, which is going to be free at no cost for our clients. And in my opinion, probably one of the best technology platforms of any company out there. You're going to get into detail. We're rolling that out in all the upgrades where that will benefit a widow if they're sitting in our office. So can you talk a little bit more about that?
I would love to. So I think the very important key piece is having everything in one spot and organized. So many people have financial documents in the freezer, in a safe deposit box, wherever they are. But when it comes down to it, if you need to have everything in one spot, not many people do. And so the biggest value of Generational Vault, in my opinion, is having everything organized and consolidated in one spot. So whether it is your insurance policies, your 401k information, your investment accounts, your personal documents, your power of attorney documents, so many of those things need to be in one spot. In case of a catastrophe happening, you can easily go in there and see everything.
So important. And I'm living proof of this. I personally have the Generational Vault. I'm really excited because when you come down to Arizona and speak on the topic and walk through the Generational Vault, you're going to be sharing with not only the attendees, but with us also a lot of first-time information and upgrades. But I'll never forget, and I've shared in past episodes of the Financial Armor Show, the journey that my wife has been through medically. But I'll never forget, several years ago, we were at the hospital and registering, and they asked, Brad, do you and Shelly have power of attorneys? Do you have healthcare directives? All these legal documents that normally we have that's in a safe at home or buried in a file cabinet. And I was able to pull up our generational vault there and send them to the hospital right there on the spot. So now they have that on file, which was so good to use. And regardless where you're at, whether it's a cruise ship or whether you're on the beach in California, it doesn't matter. If you have an internet connection, you can access all these resources, can't you?
Yeah, as long as you've got a Wi-Fi connection, or if you have data on your iPad, your cell phone, your laptop, wherever it may be, you can access it anywhere in the world at any time.
And I'll never forget a few years ago, I think maybe shortly after you were here at our office doing some training on the generational vault a few years ago. I don't even think I shared this with you, Caitlyn. You always bragged on how user-friendly this technology is. And so, of course, I wanted to put you to the test. And let me tell you, you more than passed. I brought in at that time, a couple weeks later, our oldest clients, which are now, by the way, 97 and 91 years of age. And Grace, at the time, walked them through the Generational Vault platform. And once they finished, I came in and I said, okay, I want you to be very honest with me. You're not using technology a whole lot, of course, in your 90s. I understand that. And really, I respect that. I'm kind of jealous that we're all, tied to our cell phones, our tablets, our computers on a daily basis, and they're independent. I said, tell me, was this user-friendly or was it difficult to understand? And both of them very boldly said, this is so simple, so easy to use. So thank you for making and being part of the technology platform of making it very user-friendly, whether you're 15 years old or whether you're 95 years old or anyone between that.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that. We spent a lot of time in doing some beta testing with all different age demographics over the years, rolling it out. We know that people in their 70s and 80s have a different technology mindset than someone that's 30 or 40. So we've done a lot of due diligence and make enhancements as time goes on. And as Brad, you mentioned, we're going to be rolling out an upgraded version of it, which I'll show at your event. So we're very excited to see the feedback on that.
And just to tease our listeners a little bit, I'm very excited about, a small portion of what it's going to do. When you think of technology, when you think of smart data AI, that nasty, scary word AI, artificial intelligence, it's doing a lot of great things in our world today, but also it can do a lot of harm, which I'll come back to that, which I think you're going to address, how can you protect yourself, the security of technology and AI today. But with that said, I'll use my wife for an example. Let's say that something happens to Brad. I die today. And let's say my wife was not up to speed, which she is, by the way, up to speed with any of our accounts and what we have, which is more common today than ever, not only with wives, but also with husbands. In the last 3 weeks, I have met 3 widowers who just lost their wives in the last 6 months, and they took care of everything. So that's why I encourage men to attend this event as well. But the technology platform, which I don't want to get into detail, but you could bring a widow or widower in, and through our system, have the ability where every account tied to their social security numbers would pour into the vault, literally within seconds. It's amazing, isn't it?
It is. I know my dad lost his wife, my mom, a long time ago. And just like you said, Brad, being a widower, he had no idea where the finances were. My mom was the stay-at-home typical mom back in the day that controlled everything in the household,
Right.
the payments of everything, where all the accounts were. And so when she did pass away, it was kind of a shell shock for my dad on where is that? What do I do? When is that payment due? So I have even shown him Generational Vault. He's remarried now, so we won't make the same mistake twice of not knowing where finances are. But I've had him beta test the Generational Vault too, just so that he can see and give his feedback. He's retired. He's 72. So is his wife. And so they've had some great feedback as well.
That's great because, I've never lost a spouse myself, almost many, many times over the last 5 years, but I can't imagine losing a spouse and then having the financial stress on
Yes.
top of that.
Mm.
I
And that
Yeah,
happens. Go
you're
ahead, Jaclyn.
absolutely right, Brad. I mean, people when you are losing a spouse or when you do, you're going to be grieving, and that changes your mental load, your physical load, everything a part of you, that you're going to have brain fog. You're not going to remember when something's due or what accounts you need access to, or even having that list out in front of you. There is no list to tell you exactly what to do when you're grieving, right? And so to
Mhm.
have generational vault that, will we have all those documents in one place, and so you can just kind of hand it off. Say, "Here's what I got. Do what you can with it," right? I mean,
Exactly.
take a mental load off of you.
Yeah, that's
I'm glad you brought that up, Jacqueline, because one of the many resources, and I can promise you, all the attendees who come are going to get so many valuable resources. One that we use often is a survivor kit as far as what to do before losing a spouse.
Mhm.
What do you do during?
Mhm.
What do you do after? But let me add to that. I know, Jacqueline, you mentioned you do a lot of the recordings and airing with Jose, one of our advisors, who, by the way, is up there speaking to a group of advisors now in a training meeting, which he is very good. But he came over from Morgan Stanley. I don't know if he ever shared this story with you in the past, but he came over from Morgan Stanley a few years ago, worked there, and his primary responsibility was to take phone calls from widows and widowers. And basically, here's what we're going to do. Sorry you lost your spouse. We're going to send out all this paperwork. You should get that in the next 2 weeks. Fill all that out, send it back. Then we'll send it through our legal department.
Mhm.
And if everything's correct, then we'll get your accounts changed over into your name from your spouse's name who you lost. But here's the reality, and I've seen it in our industry over and over, but Jose just made this very clear. He said, Brad, here's what happens. You have widows and widowers emotionally drained, calling a toll-free number
Mhm.
to a big company, talking to someone they don't know, asking for paperwork and instructions on how to change things over. Once that's sent out, once it's completed and sent back and goes to the legal department, here's what happens 99% of the time. I'm sorry, Mr. or Mrs. Widow or widower, the paperwork is not in good order.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to redo it. He said several times he's had clients that it took 9 to 12 months before things were changed over. And a couple times during that process, the client passed away.
Wow.
So guess what happened? Everything went through probate. So I'm sharing that because we see that in our industry today. And I had this very bold conversation with a couple who the husband took care of all the money. He managed his own money. His wife did not know anything. And finally, I said, here's what's going to happen. Statistics say you're going to die first. Your health is in bad shape. You're older. And then your wife is going to be left to call 10, 15 different companies and spend the next 2, 3 years trying to get things changed over. So I share that with you because here's one of the many things that we do at Cooper Financial and what we love to do. And this has happened many times just in the last 6 months. We'll bring the widow or widower in. We'll bring the family members in.
Mhm.
We'll go through and complete all the paperwork and hold your hand through that process. We'll have our attorney here. We'll have our CPA here. And this is a free service for all of our clients. And we'll make sure as smooth as possible this transition will take place.
And I
Yeah.
think you bring up a good point, Brad, of you guys doing such a great job at bringing the next generation into to help at least put some ease at mind where their parents or their grandparents' assets are and what would happen if something were to happen to them. With the generational vault, you guys have really capitalized on the sharing component within it, which is where all of your consumers can invite family members, friends, any loved ones to give access to
Yes.
the vault. So if they want to share what their personal finances are, or maybe they don't want them to see their finances, but they want them to have access to their legal documents, they can get very granular in what they give access to each individual loved one. And to me, that's so important too, especially for somebody that's 85, 90 years old.
Right.
They don't know sometimes how to log into that. So if they have you guys helping them and their kids or their grandkids as a granted user to it, what an easier transition for them because of that.
Mhm.
So true. The whole message that we're going to be giving at this event is just being proactive. And what I've seen the last several years, and what I just experienced just less than a year ago with my in-laws. My father-in-law, 80 years old, perfect health, independent, taking care of my mother-in-law, had a severe stroke. And we had to go back to Missouri, where we're from originally, and take care of everything, even though they had an estate plan, but we had to take care of everything. Then bring them out to Arizona and find and locate an assisted living care facility. Now, keep in mind, I've been in this business a long time. I know this business inside and out. Probably the most stress that I've been through was during that time period. So, some other resources and speakers, and Caitlyn, you'll probably talk and touch on this a little bit too, is how to be proactive. And this is a message I am giving to every client, every new person that comes in our office. Be proactive since you're still in good health, cognitive, you're there. Make the decision. It's not a question if we're going to die. It's just a question of when.
Mhm.
And there's a 75 to 80% chance that at least one, if not both, will need long-term care. So decide, number one, when you get there, as you approach that area, where do you want to live? Do you want to stay in Arizona?
Mhm.
Or do you want to go up to Minnesota where there's 5 feet of snow and 10 below zero? Whatever that case may be, then start looking at assisted living care facilities, nursing homes. One of the, not speakers, but one of the sponsors we're going to have at our event specializes in transition. So they will hold your hand and free service to you, show you all the options based on your budget, location of what's available. And if you need Medicaid, if you need assistance, military, whatever the case may be, they're going to step in and help with that. So being proactive, and I think it starts, Caitlyn, which I'm really excited about, is the technology side. But let's briefly talk as, we start to run out of time here in the next few minutes. Like I said, this is going by way too fast. But, often, Caitlyn, Jaclyn, I get, well, Brad, this all sounds good, but it's scary. There's so much ID theft and fraud. There's AI scams. And how can we protect ourselves
Yeah,
from those?
that's a great question. I think that's the biggest fear of anyone at any age is how secure is this platform if all of my wills, my trust, my power of attorneys, my
Right.
financial account numbers, my social security number, all of this information is in here. So we like to pride ourselves on we've taken extra steps to make sure that it is as secure as financial banking, and with the hospitals, how they have their client portals locked down with the same kind of encryption. I don't want to get technical
Right.
talking on it, but it is as secure as the banking industry and also the healthcare industry. So we've really taken a lot of time to make sure that that has been put in place. And then we also make sure that if you guys plan on sharing data with loved ones, you have to give them access. They have to approve it. There's multi-factor authentications in there too. So we've really taken some extra steps to make sure that that information is secure.
And that's what I love about, what you're going to talk about more in detail as well. And we will have many resources, on our generational vault and for our clients on how to be more proactive as far as protecting yourself from frauds and scams. usually about once a year, we'll do an event, normally have the FBI come in, the Arizona Attorney General's office come in and speak on this topic. And I'm seeing more and more as technology advances and AI, these evil people, I call them, are getting more sophisticated and doing some bad things. And we have many clients that are victims. And I was even a victim a couple years ago. And, there's nothing I could have done. The computer system was hacked at the company we're working with, a contractor, and they were a big victim. And it cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to their customers. So we're going to address that, but more importantly, just preparing, being proactive, empowering women and men, but more so women, just to be prepared and not be reactive when this does happen. But more important than that is knowing, through this, trial and tribulation, through the valleys you go through, we have the resources, we have the strategic partners of any need that you may have, and we will hold your hand, walk you through this journey. And that's probably the biggest thing I want to get across at this event is you have someone you can come to with any need to help you through this process.
Yeah, absolutely, Brad. And I really appreciate this conversation. And I think it's so important, like you said, for women and men, it's so important that it starts with a conversation. Start
Yes.
the conversation now with family, with spouses, with your financial advisor, because I know, Brad, at your office, you guys specialize in having that relationship with both spouses. And I
Right.
think that's where it should start, talking about with your financial advisor, creating that relationship as both of you in a relationship, right? I mean, because if one of you leaves, you should have that pre-established relationship with a financial advisor to help you along the way, because that's who's going to be there for you. So Brad, can you share with our listeners before we finish today one more time how they can get more information on this upcoming event?
Absolutely. Again, it's open to the public. We do have limited seating. We're expecting a great turnout, but again, Thursday, April 9th, we're going to start out from 8:30 in the morning till 9 o'clock with a wonderful, delicious, hot breakfast buffet, which is going to be free for everyone. All the coffee, which you can tell, that's my weakness there. But juices, we'll have a lot of healthy food too at this event. But then we're going to get started. We're going to have 3 dynamic speakers talking on different topics. A lot of what we just talked about today. Caitlyn's going to talk a lot about the technology. Then we're going to have all the speakers plus a couple other resources, have tables with abundance of information and resources. But how you can register, you can go to cooperevent.com, COOPEREVENT.com, and register, and feel free to invite, any person that you would feel that could find this information useful, which I'm finding, and I think we talked before the show, this is a topic that's not being addressed enough in our industry. And I'm finding too, a lot with my peers in this entire industry, they're not wanting to have those difficult conversations. Who wants to talk about death? Who wants to talk about nursing homes, about running out of money before you die? These are the topics we're addressing heads on, because it's not a question if, it's just a question of when. So let us help you be prepared for that.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Caitlin, for joining the show today.
Yes.
And to our listeners and viewers, there'll be some other guests coming on in the next
Yes.
couple of weeks. So stay tuned. And thank you, Brad. And that does it for this episode of Financial Armor with our host, Brad Cooper.
Thank you.